Ooh, what's up, everybody? My name is OMG WTF LOLFTW Welcome back to more Total Extreme Wrestling 2016. We are playing as the WWE in the year 2002, and we are booking or running WCW Friday Night Nitro. Although it still says Thursday, so maybe we're Thursday. I have a new logo that I found that said Friday Night Nitro, so I was just like, we'll run with that. Because there's no Thursday Night Nitro logo, unfortunately. The only logos I've ever found for Nitro are like Monday night and then this Friday night logo, so I'm changing it to Friday night. So if it's not there, it's gonna be there. Nonetheless, though, we have got quite the show for you tonight. Ric Flair's got a huge announcement at the start of the show, so I say let's not waste some time. Let's just get right in and hear what the general manager, Ric Flair, has got to say. But before we get to that, we got one pre-show matchup here with a 57 C- rating. Brian Christopher, formerly known as Grandmaster Sexay, but from now on, since he's in the Cruiserweight division, and I've got some sort of planned ideas for Brian Christopher in the future, so he'll be going as that for now on, anyway. He and Head Chop teamed up to take on the team of Showtime, Elix Skipper, one of the newest stars in the Cruiserweight division, alongside the Boogie Knights. Gets a 57 C- rating. Not too bad, not too bad. And a terrible pre-show matchup. Brian Christopher and Head Chop go over Showtime, Elix Skipper, and the Boogie Knights when Al Snow defeats Skipper with the Snowplow. Unfortunately for Skipper, he was the weak link, struggling to keep up with everyone else's in-ring performance. But given time, and some popularity, Showtime Elix Skipper, I think, will be able to catch up. I mean, he's no Rodney Max. I mean, that's promising. Rodney Max going to be a chore. And Eric Angle. Anyway, Disco Inferno's getting better at his gimmick. Funaki had an in-ring performance of a 48. Al Snow with a 57, so it looks like he was the best of everybody in here, where that's no surprise. I mean, everybody in here is mostly a cruiserweight. He's the only one that's not a cruiserweight. Brian Christopher with a 50 in-ring performance. Showtime, Elix Skipper, has a 36 in-ring performance, so that was the worst, but that's not too bad. I don't know what his popularity is off the top of my head, but I think he might be performing a little bit above. Alex Wright with a 49 and Disco Inferno with a 48. So Wright outperforming Disco. Das Wunderkind, everybody. What do we got here? Oh, wait. What was that? No, I don't want to do that yet. I was like, I don't have him turning, so I don't know what it's talking about. Then I noticed the gimmick. But yeah, we're going to have him kind of be, as you can see, a high society gimmick, but I'll do that in the future. He should be turning, though, as well. I guess I don't want to do it yet because I don't want to start teasing it yet until I'm ready. Wow, there you go. Brian Christopher making the best of this match tonight, improving both his rumble and flying skills. Hell yeah. All right, I'm going to take a quick drink here because we are going to open up Nitro with a 83B+. Should have warned you guys beforehand, but some of you, I mean, I already announced that Mr. Perfect was getting hired, so it's not much of a spoiler. Anyway, 83B+ rating here is after we get a recap video showcasing last week's draft for Nitro, kind of similar to Monday Night Raw, where, you know, they showcase who Nitro drafted from number 1 being The Rock all the way to number 10. Don't even remember, it's been so long. Nitro then opens up with Pyro going off as the commentary team welcome everyone to Nitro before they are interrupted by the introduction of the general manager of Nitro, Ric Flair, who styles and profiles his way down to the ring. And then, of course, once in the ring, Ric goes on and takes the mic and he begins to speak. And from the dead we rise, and the legacy of WCW continues. I mean, we got a ball and chain around our ankles as we now work for the enemy, an enemy we beat, but nonetheless the legacy continues. And if Nitro is going to continue the legacy of WCW, then we need a world champion. I'm sure you're all aware because, well, it's what led to Nitro's WWE enslavement. The Undertaker beat Sting at WrestleMania to win the WCW World Championship. And then he proceeded to bury the big gold belt. Oh boy, what the hell? Along with his history. Which is why I'm proud to announce that while the gold belt may have been buried, history lives on. Over the next couple of months, the top talent on Nitro will face off. I just gotta pull out the handy dandy notepad real quick. In a tournament that will conclude in May. Did you hear that? Conclude in May at the very first Nitro pay-per-view of the year. Starrcade, baby. Woo! This tournament shall consist of the likes of The Rock, Booker T, Sting, Diamond Dallas Page, Chris Jericho, and of course, the Nature Boy. Woo! Ric Flair, baby. Along, of course, with many more, like the Giant, like the Stein. But of course, he's going on to say the Steiners. Shane McMahon's music cuts off Ric Flair, and out comes the owner of WCW Nitro. And Shane, he begins to speak. He cuts him off. He says, "Wait a minute, Rick. Wait a minute. I wanted to believe as GM, you wouldn't let your ego stand in the way of putting on a good show. But I guess I was wrong. Because we haven't even had one match yet, and you're already putting yourself in line for a world championship. But not only that, you come out here and you badmouth Nitro and its future while you reminisce in the past? Well, I'm not going to stand for it, Rick, because as the owner of this show, I outrank you, and I'm replacing you." "You're replacing me? For what? For expressing an opinion that's more fact and fiction than you like to believe? We won, McMahon, and your ego cost us everything." Whoa, calm down, Rick. It has nothing to do with your opinion, and everything to do with the fact that you're the general manager of this program, and you're using your power to put yourself in the championship picture, which is why I'm replacing you with Nitro's newest signing, someone you have quite the history with, Rick. And then that's when Shane points to the stand or the entryway, and we hear that familiar bum 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 bum. Mr. Perfect comes out. He makes his Nitro return, his WWE return, and a big welcome back for, well, the now WWE Hall of Famer, but the iconic Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig. Kurt Hennig, of course, he doesn't say anything. He's only out there to gloat. He's just basking in the spotlight because not only is he back, but as Shane McMahon just revealed, he is taking Ric Flair's spot in this World Championship tourney, so he could very well be our next WCW World Champion. Anyway, Shane McMahon continues to say, "With that being said, Rick, can I see you in your office, please, to continue this conversation? Because we've got a show to continue on with. So with that being said, are you people ready for some action?" And I imagine, of course, it's a cheap pop. The crowd pops. And then McMahon continues on to say, "Then let's start off with our first match in the WCW World Championship Tournament." And then that's when Latino Heat's music goes off. I almost said Viva la Raza. That's what I wanted to say, but for some reason I wanted to go, "Ooh, Chavo." And that's not his damn song. But anyway, Viva la Raza. And Eddie Guerrero's music goes off, and out comes Latino Heat, and we get ready for our first match in the WCW World Championship Tourney, which will consist of Eddie Guerrero and Lance Storm. But before we get to that, let's check out this segment here. So Ric Flair and Shane McMahon both worked well without the script, so they did well here. Mr. Perfect debuted his prima donna gimmick, but unfortunately for him, he got a below average rating. Not a good start for you, Mr. Perfect, unfortunately. He is getting better at the gimmick, though, so I guess the only way we can go is up from here. Did get the show off to a strong start. Angle got the crowd hotter. Perfect, unfortunately, did look lost out there, but he's in the ring with two bona fide stars, and even though we know who Mr. Perfect is, at this time. It's not like everybody in the world would remember him. I mean, it's a different audience. And moved along a couple of segments here, or excuse me, storylines, I should say. No worker improvements. And here we go, our opening match of the night. It's going to be a long one, too. 77 solid B rating. And look at this. No nothing. Usually there's something here, but we just get in ring performances. That's interesting. So both stars were actually on their game, doing good. So a 77 solid B rating here. We have a decent matchup here. Ignore that. Did I put in that Chavo Guerrero interfered? No, I didn't. So ignore that Chavo Guerrero interfered. I don't imagine that happening. In fact, just erase all that. So what I really would imagine happening is we have Eddie Guerrero and Lance Storm. They're going back and forth. They're having one hell of a match. As you see, it goes on for 18 minutes, 26 seconds. This is the first match in the WCW title tournament to determine the next WCW World Champion. And Eddie Guerrero goes over Lance Storm. We have a great back and forth bout between these two. And at the end of the day, Latino Heat Eddie Guerrero pulls out a quick victory when he cheats to win, doing the classic lie, cheating, stealing. So I don't imagine Chavo Guerrero interfered like the road agent report or the whatever was saying. What I'd like to imagine is, Eddie maybe rolls him up for a 3 count, maybe grabs the ropes, grabs the tights. I don't know. A quick, cheap pin that gives Eddie the victory. And he goes on in the tournament. He beats Lance Storm, eliminating the former Canadian champion. And he moves on and very well could be the next WCW World Champion. Eddie Guerrero with an in-ring performance of a 68. Lance Storm with a 70. And I let these two, I let them call it in the ring. I've been trying to pay a little bit more attention to like the road agent notes and stuff, and the superstars like where they match up with certain things and trying to play to their strengths a lot of the time. And these two had good stamina, which is why I let them go as long as they did, and they have good psychology and all that. So I figured let me test them out and see how they do, and I think they did good, obviously. So Eddie Guerrero with an in-ring performance of a 68, Storm with a 70, and Eddie's improving in his performance. So good stuff all together. What do we have here for handling changes? Oh, apparently we're going to change Chavo's gimmick from old school face to a degenerate. So sure, let's go ahead and do that now. That's fine by me. He was out there, and it got a rating of great. So there you go. Chavo Guerrero is now a degenerate alongside his Uncle Eddie. And they're not like Degeneration X. They're just, degenerates. Anyway, 79, solid B rating, as afterwards the match is over. Lance Storm is furious because, Eddie Guerrero cheated to beat him. So he's getting in the referee's face, telling him he made a bad call, trying to explain the error of his ways. And then, of course, when he turns around, former North American champion Edge is right there, and he spears Lance Storm, putting him in his place, laying him out in the ring. And, of course, that's a little bit of a revengeance for costing Edge the North American Championship last week in that match against Sir Steven Regal. So there you have that. That continues along our North American Championship feud. And no worker improvements here, but we have more changes. And apparently we're going to be changing Edge's gimmick from a thrill seeker to a teen idol. Are we really doing that? I mean, the teen idol is not really what you think about it. Like, don't think like he's a Backstreet Boy. It's pretty much like he's a pretty boy, and all the girls swoon over him and are like, ooh, it's Edge. Which, in a way, he was. So he's not really a thrill seeker. A thrill seeker would imply that he's out there doing all these dangerous stunts. That's not really Edge. So let's go ahead and do it. And it got a rating of a great. Look at that. What was his one before? Very good. Look at that. Hell yeah. So far, this Nitro is starting off pretty good. 78 solid B rating afterwards, as we're backstage in the general manager's office, and Ric Flair starts off by saying, "What the hell was that, McMahon?" And Shane responds by going, "What was what? Don't tell me you're mad that I took you out of the WCW title tournament. Rick, what you don't understand is your management. I can't have you putting yourself into favorable positions. Same rules apply to Regal and everyone else before you. I told you that I wasn't retiring from active competition when I took this role, McMahon. And no one's saying you have to retire, Rick. I'm just saying you can't give yourself championship opportunities. Simple as that." Is it that simple? Or are you just using your position of power to punish me because you don't agree with everything excuse me, because I don't agree with everything you do, and I've been very critical of you since you cost WCW its victory at WrestleMania, because you wanted to put your daddy in his place. And then Shane, obviously kind of, irritated by Rick's words, he tries to keep his composure, and he goes, no, again, this is about you, your position of power. Don't you dare question mine. It doesn't matter how WCW survived. Fact of the matter is, we survived. At what cost? And as things get a little tense here, we got to pull up the handy dandy notepad. And Rick continues by saying, McMahon, at what cost did it cost us? All right, you know what, Rick? Seriously, can you just stop it already? If you don't want the GM role, then you can step down, and I'll gladly find someone else to fill your shoes. And Rick knows not to push the issue, so he goes on to say, like you did with Mr. Perfect. You know what? No, you know what, McMahon? I'm okay. I'll play your game for now, but mark my words, I won't let you fail WCW a second time. And then Flair storms out of the office, and as Ric Flair is storming out, that's when Stacy Keibler walks in curiously, and she goes on to say, excuse me, Mr. McMahon, I hope I'm not intruding. And Shane, of course, is more than happy to see Stacy Keibler, and he goes on to say, Miss Keibler, no, not at all. Please call me Shane, and come in, sit down. And in comes Miss Keibler, and as the cameras go off, it seems like Shane and Miss Keibler are going to have a talk, so who knows, maybe we'll see Stacy a little bit more in the future. And she improvised well throughout the segment, even though she wasn't in the segment all that much. She can work off script. Things are going to look up for Stacy, I think. Got the crowd hotter. All in all, looking good, no worker improvements. 78 solid B rating. Is that like 3 in a row? 78 solid B rating. We're backstage now with Mean Gene Okerlund, and he's ready to interview Chris Jericho. So let's go to him. All right, wrestling fans, Mean Gene here, and joining me now is one half of the WCW Tag Team Champions and the man who will face Sting in our main event tonight in round 1 of the WCW title tournament, Chris Jericho. And that's when Chris Jericho and Christian enter the shot. They are the WCW Tag Team Champions. They are flaunting, cocky as ever, smiles on their face. Christian, of course, is in the WCW title tournament as well, so he's going to get his shot later on. Maybe not tonight, but later on in the future. Mean Gene continues to say, Chris, you sure got to be excited because not only are you getting an opportunity to go further in this tournament to become the WCW World Champion, but you're taking place in what many consider to be a dream match as you will face Sting for the very first time in your career tonight. Your comments. And Jericho, he's kind of taken aback by what Mean Gene just said, and he looks at him and he goes, you act like I'm supposed to care, Mean Gene. What some may see as a dream match, I see as a cakewalk. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but hey, maybe if this was a few years back, this would be some sort of dream match. But Sting is nothing more than a washed-up has-been. His downfall began at WrestleMania, and it continues tonight when he gets his daily dose of vitamin. What the hell are you two ass clowns doing here? And then that's when the camera pans over, and the two ass clowns Chris Jericho is talking about is none other than the former WCW Tag Team Champions, Kanyon and Hugh Morris. And Kanyon goes on to say, oh, we're just listening and getting a good feeling on how delusional you two really are. I mean, I could understand when you guys were talking all that crap about us, but you really think you're just going to walk through the stinger? Then you're almost stupider than you look, Jericho. Christian then steps up, obviously takes exception to his buddy being talked down to like that, and he goes, hey, you can't talk to him that way. You two are not only... What the hell was I trying to say here? You can't talk to him that way. I have no idea what I was trying to say. You two are not only talking... Oh, I get it now. You two are not only talking to the team that beat you. I don't know why I was reading that so weird. For these tag team titles, but you're also talking to the next WCW World Champion, which of course will be either me or Chris. And then Jericho goes, yeah, that's right, Chris. Well, yeah, well, not as long as I'm in this tournament. And then Christian steps up again and says, and what are you going to do about it? What part of we beating you don't you understand? And then now Hugh Morris finally steps up and he goes, more like you climbed the ladder in a match with 2 other teams. I'm sorry, did you say something, Porky? At least Daffy Duck here can talk. He's in the tournament while you're watching on the sidelines. And now, of course, Hugh Morris definitely got a little irritated by those last comments by Christian there as he now steps up and says, just because I was overlooked doesn't mean I can't hang. I'm sick of people thinking I'm a weak link or I'm holding Canyon back. I know if given the chance, I could go far in this tournament. Hell, I could even beat you. And Christian laughs him off and he goes, you're joking, right? Canyon responds, I don't think he is. Why don't you put your money where your mouth is, mate? Why don't you put your spot in this tournament on the line and face my man Hugh tonight, if you're so confident you can beat him? And then Christian, he's not stupid, and he even says, what do you think, I'm stupid? And then no, Hugh even pushes the subject a little further, and he goes, no, we just think you're chicken. And then they do this stupid, bok, bok, bok thing, start mocking Christian like he's a chicken. And Christian, of course, is not having any of it. And he goes, all right, fine, I'll do it. But don't say I didn't warn you, Porky. And he walks off, and we got a match that'll take place tonight. If Hugh Morris can beat Christian, he will take Christian's spot in the WCW title tournament. If not, well, Christian continues it. Mean Gene did not come out looking good. That's unfortunate for him, but given his popularity, I'm sure he'll get up there a little bit more. We are going to change Christian's gimmick from the scoundrel, which was below average, to obnoxious. It can't be as bad as it was before. And look, it got average, so it's better than below average. Good. So Christian is now obnoxious. And then we're getting ready for our matchup next. As last week, Billy Kidman won a cruiserweight champion, or not a cruiserweight championship match, but a cruiserweight qualifying match, I should say, as he qualified to challenge Rey Mysterio tonight for the cruiserweight championship. Sure, I botched that, right? So we get one of those like side-by-side camera views where both champion and challenger are seen making their way down to the ring. And if this is a gimmick change, which it most likely is, I'm definitely not going to do it here. So we go into the title matchup, which gets a 66C+ rating, and about that had decent wrestling, but not much weight and heat. Billy Kidman and Rey Mysterio Jr. end up drawing with each other after 12 minutes and 56 seconds after the match descended into chaos when Dean Malenko and Jerry Lynn became involved. So these two are having a great matchup back and forth. They're just pulling off some stunning moves. And then out of nowhere, Dean Malenko and Jerry Lynn come in and attack both champion and challenger. And unfortunately, the referee has to call for a double disqualification. Or just throws the match out, whatever you want to call it. Billy Kidman with an in-ring performance of a 58. Rey Mysterio with a 64C. Or not a 64C, but it probably is a C. 64 nonetheless. And I'm not going to change Rey Mysterio's gimmick here either. So let's go ahead and move on to the next segment, where we get a 65 solid C rating, which honestly I'm happy with because Dean Malenko talked and I wasn't sure if that would help him. But anyway, Jerry Lynn and Dean Malenko continue to keep their respective submission holds locked in on both Billy Kidman and Rey Mysterio. Both the stars are tapping out, but they're just refusing to let go. Finally, the referees and road agents are able to pry off both Dean Malenko and Jerry Lynn from Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman. And while they check on both the superstars, Dean Malenko goes ahead and takes to the mic. And he taps on it. So mind your ears. You're going to get a quick little tap on the mic for added effect. That might have been a lot louder than it was. And Dean goes on to say, "Is this what you people are entertained by? Is this what it takes anymore? Glorified stunt actors throwing their bodies around? Well, quite frankly, I'm sick of it. And I know my associate here, Jerry Lynn, is sick of it too. For far too long have we stood back and watched the cruiserweight division become a showcase for rejected trapeze artists. But mark my words, we will no longer stand by. A serious change is coming to the cruiserweight division. And it starts with you and that title, Ray." And he throws the mic down, and it seems like Dean Malenko and Jerry Lynn have joined forces and are going to try to ground the Cruiserweight division. So we'll go ahead and complete the underdog gimmick here. It got above average, so it's better than his average Thrill Seeker gimmick. And I guess I didn't put the turn in here, so I can't turn Dean Malenko. He was supposed to turn heel here, but I guess that's okay. We'll have to do it another time. We then go to yet another backstage interview with Mean Gene Okerlund. This time gets an 81 solid B rating. And Mean Gene starts to say, "All right, wrestling fans, joining me now is the man who has been the talk of the world as of late, not only because he now calls WCW Nitro his home, but now adding Hollywood to his resume. Ladies and gentlemen, The Rock." And that's when The Rock enters the picture, and Mean Gene goes on to congratulate The Rock on landing his big role. So he says, "Rock, congratulations on landing your big role as the Scorpion King, but I've got to ask you, will this movie role affect your career here on Nitro?" So before I continue on with this promo, I did a little research, and I found out the Scorpion King actually came out in April. So, I guess in our universe, it's just, instead of it coming out in April, it was announced that The Rock was going to be the Scorpion King in April, and there you have it. So now that's I guess that's the new change in our world. So Rock continues to say, and he goes, "Mean Gene, you and the rest of the millions and millions of The Rock's fans have nothing to worry about, because while The Rock will be gracing your big screens, The Rock is not going nowhere. I mean, come on, Mean Gene. There's a world title to earn, and whether it's Monday Night Raw or Friday Night Nitro, this will always be The Rock's home." And that's when we have the Steiner brothers enter the picture, and they're kind of mocking The Rock, and Scott goes, "You're home? Funny coming from a guy who was trying to put us out of business not too long ago." "Look, Scott, I know you're stupid, but I think you're confusing the word try with did put your ass out of business." The Rock's got to pull up the handy-dandy notepad. The Rock has got to pull out his handy-dandy notepad real quick to continue roasting you, Scott Steiner. Oh, crap, you know what? I got to pull up the other handy-dandy notepad a little later. So let's do that real quick. Let's do this one, right? Boom. Boom. It still has some of my notes. Anyway, don't let the banner fool you, Scott. The show may be called WCW Nitro, but with a big WWE stamp right on top of it. Oh, please. You want to talk about fooled? Didn't you lose? Hell, I like Shane McMahon, but if it wasn't for his gamble, then your ass would be WCW property. Instead of you being the Scorpion King, I'd be. And then that's when The Rock laughs and he goes, "You? The Scorpion King? Nah. You and your brothers are more like the Dung Beetle Jesters." And then Rick Steiner finally steps up and he goes, "Laugh all you want, movie star, but I know you saw the bracket for this tournament, and you got me in the first round. And when I'm through beating your face in, you won't be playing the Scorpion King, you'll be playing the Mummy." And I didn't... Oh, no, I did. I was going to say, did I write anything else for The Rock here? Ignore these. This is just when I was ranking people on what I wanted them to be a part of, so that's fine. Anyway, pull this out of here. Put that down there. There we go. So Rock continues and he goes, "Let The Rock tell you something, you jabroni. You pick the time and the place, and The Rock will smack you so hard your underbite will be an overbite. So if you smell what The Rock is cooking, and if you want so, then come get some, Rick." Or whatever. Maybe, I don't know. He wouldn't have called him the Rick because, I don't have an insult there, so I had to think off the top of my head. But we all know The Rock wouldn't have called him Rick. He would have thought of some stupid line, you retard or something like that. But I don't want to say that because that's a bit too much. Also, backstage is still at 0% if anyone was curious. And a couple of things happen in our developmental territories. Onyx is now sidelined apparently with a floating kneecap, and Taylor Maffney is out with a ruptured spleen after a botched move from Jillian Hall. She must have been singing. So that's unfortunate for those stars, especially Taylor Maffney. She was kind of getting a push over in developmental. So Rock clearly enjoyed. Rick Steiner did a masterful job. Good for him. Rick Steiner's gimmick is getting Gale, though, so we'll have to fix that. R. Steiner gimmick. Mean Gene, of course, still underwhelming. Rock was a real star. And there we have it. As we move on to the next segment, which gets a 75 B- rating here. Nothing too special as we get ready for the matchup between Kanyon and Hugh Morris. So not Kanyon and Hugh Morris, Christian and Hugh Morris. So Kanyon is just backstage getting, psyching Hugh Morris up for the match. So we go into that matchup, which gets a 76 B- rating here, and about that had good heat and decent wrestling to it. Hugh Morris goes over Christian in 7 minutes 52 seconds with a surprise cradle. So Christian put his shot on the line, and unfortunately for Christian, it comes back and bites him in the ass. He wasn't taking Hugh serious enough, and I'd like to imagine maybe Christian going for an unprettier, Hugh Morris breaking out of it, and then rolling Christian up for that surprise cradle. And 1, 2, 3. Hugh Morris is now in the WCW title tournament, and will be can I speak? And will be replacing Christian's or taking Christian's spot in this tournament. So there you have that. Hugh Morris with an in-ring performance of a 66. Christian with an 83. They got a 76 B- rating, and it advanced the Kanyon Morris storyline against the Vitamin C. Also, Hugh Morris improving in his performance skills. Good for him. Afterwards, we go to a 76 B- rating as the match is over. Kanyon and Hugh Morris continue to celebrate with each other until the music of Shane McMahon cuts the celebration short, and out comes the owner of WCW, and he goes, No, don't stop. You earned this, Hugh. So go on, milk it in, because you now slid your way into the world title picture. But if I were you, I don't know if I'd be celebrating for too long, especially after you see who your opponent is going to be. And then that's when the Giants music goes off, and out he comes, and he just sits there standing menacingly, staring down Hugh Morris all the way from the entryway, while Hugh Morris just kind of acts terrified, while Canyon's like, don't worry about this, you've got it, you've got this, trying to still psyching him up. So, yeah, Hugh Morris is in the tournament, but he's going to be fighting the Giant in his round, so whenever that happens, it'll happen. And I'm not saying it's happening next week, but I don't know, maybe next week. We already announced Rock and Steiner and Giant and Morris, so maybe those are the two matches we'll see next week. Kanyon is getting better at his gimmick, so good for him there. Not sure why, he didn't really do much in this segment. And then we go back to Mean Gene Okerlund for our final interview of the night, which gets a 76 B- rating. And Mean Gene goes on to say, all right, wrestling fans, for the last time tonight, joining me will be the man who faces off against Chris Jericho in our main event. And our main event in round 1 of this WCW title tournament, Sting. And then Sting comes in, woo! How's it going, Mean Gene? Sting, always a pleasure. I spoke to Chris Jericho earlier tonight about this historic match. Many people consider this a dream match. First time ever, Sting versus Chris Jericho. Now, Chris wasn't too impressed and even went so far to say that you're washed up. And that's when Sting goes on to respond and says, well, Gene, Chris has got a big mouth and he sure likes to talk a lot. But I can't say I'm surprised. It seems after WrestleMania, a lot of people think it's time that the Stinger hangs up his boots and takes the pain off. Hell, some people don't even think I deserve to be in this tournament because I lost the title to The Undertaker at WrestleMania and cost WCW its freedom. But I still feel like I've got a lot left to give. And Chris Jericho's going to find out tonight, Mean Gene. And then probably goes, thanks for your time. And then he just woos his way out of there or something and heads off. And then Gene goes, thanks for your time, Steve. And I like to add that little Steve in there because, it makes it feel a little personal because they know each other, And this is probably going to be Sting's final year, so we'll see. Anyway, Bobby Heenan, pretty weak as usual. Mean Gene underperformed, which is unfortunate, but it does continue all along this segment here. And before we get into the Sting versus Chris Jericho match, I did some research, and to my knowledge, Chris Jericho and Sting have never fought each other. Have never had a one-on-one match, and I don't even know if they've ever had a tag team match. I googled it, nothing popped up on YouTube except for like some WWE 2K matches that people do. I looked in the Internet Wrestling Database or whatever it's called, and I looked up to see if Sting and Chris Jericho have ever fought each other. I wasn't able to find anything. So if you guys can find any proof to see, that Sting fought Chris Jericho, then then they fought each other. But to my knowledge, this is actually will be the first time that they have ever fought each other in a one-on-one match or in any capacity. So that's kind of cool. And if not, then WWE just likes to erase history, and this is the first time they're fighting each other. So anyway, let's get on with the main event of the night. It is an 83 B+ rating. Hell yeah, that's a hell of a good main event. I'd already say that could have maybe been of an A if we didn't have a bad backstage rating, but maybe not. Maybe we're pushing it. 83 B+ rating here, and about that had great heat and good wrestling to it. Sting goes over Chris Jericho in 9 minutes 47 seconds with the Scorpion Deathlock, making Chris Jericho tap out in the middle of the ring. So Jericho taps out. The Stinger moves on in this tournament, and there you have it. First time ever they had a great match, and if we look at the dirt sheet, let's kind of look at this real quick. I'm curious. Well, what our negatives would be. Jericho penalized for holding back, so that could be credited to maybe being on Nitro or being a televised match. The low locker room morale, of course, is going to affect things because, duh. Sting was also penalized for holding back and the low locker room morale. His declining physical ability doesn't help, and the short match length, but I don't know if we can get a whole lot out of Sting with his decreasing stamina, but we'll see. Maybe we could get a little bit more, but either way, I think we did fine here. So 84 rating or in-ring performance for Chris Jericho and a 74 in-ring performance for Sting. They had a 10-point difference between the two. So that's unfortunate there. As you can see, Sting is definitely declining. Chris Jericho is improving in his performance, though, so that's good for him. And we end off Nitro with a 91 solid A rating, as Booker T can be seen walking towards the parking lot. The show is over, so he's getting ready to leave. And that's when he's being approached by Ric Flair. So Flair, of course, is behind him. He's like, "Hey, Book, wait up. Wait up, Booker." And finally, Booker T turns around and goes, "What do you want, Flair?" And Ric Flair goes, "I just wanted to talk to you. Get an idea where your head's at." "My head's fine. So what do you want?" "You're close to Shane, right, Book? You've been his right-hand man throughout this entire invasion. So I gotta hear your side of the story. Get to the point, Flair." "Do you really think that Shane is the right man for this job? I mean, we won the war. You guys won your match. You pinned Mr. McMahon. Despite going in with an injury. And despite all that, Shane didn't care. He just gambled it all away like none of it mattered. Like none of your hard work mattered." And that's when Booker T, he grabs Ric Flair and he pushes him up against the wall and he says, "Look here, old man. Shane McMahon has had my back since day one. Since the first day we met. And I've had his. I knew what Shane was gonna do. I knew he was gonna gamble it all. And you're damn right I was okay with it. Why? Hold on. Because Shane has never kept a damn secret from me. I knew about you. I knew about Goldberg, Sting, and the last minute gamble. Shane is more my boss. Shane is more than my boss. He is my friend. And I don't give a damn if you're my boss or not. I won't stand by and let you badmouth him. You dig? Good." And he throws Ric Flair down, and he gets in his car and he drives off, leaving the WCW general manager on the parking lot floor, just catching his breath. So we end off the show with Ric Flair kind of going to Booker T, and maybe, I don't know, to me it appears like he was trying to get Booker T to align with him. But Booker T is very loyal to Shane McMahon, as we just found out. And things might get a little heated in the future. I don't know. Got a couple changes here. We're going to change. There's no longer him being a threat or an outside threat, that kind of thing. So we're going to change Booker T's gimmick to a hustler. It is kind of risky. He has a very good rating on it, but the invasion angle's over. He's not an outside threat, so he's just Booker T now. So let's see how it does. Very good rating. Hell yeah. So Booker T's doing his job. We got a lot of good stuff going on here. So let's go ahead and end off the show. Nitro gets an 85 B+ rating here. No specific comments to be made, so we didn't lose or gain any fans. We're just treading the line still here. But all in all, I think a good show for Nitro. It goes to show off what we're going to be doing a lot in the future here, as we are going to be looking to crown our first ever or not our first ever, but our next WCW World Heavyweight Champion. We've got this big tournament lined up. I don't have a bracket set up. I just have superstars, and I'm just kind of going off of what matches I want to do, where in there. But the show's getting fantastic reviews, so that's good stuff. And yeah, good stuff all around. I'm excited for the future. I think it's going to be good stuff. And apparently the Giant says Funaki is a natural talker. He's worth giving promo time to, in my opinion. You know what, Giant? I'm glad you said that, because I love Funaki. I love Funaki. He's in my Ep.5. Alright guys, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, do me a favor, leave me a comment, like, subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, don't forget to share this video with your friends, Facebooks, Twitters, Instagrams. I don't give a damn. Anybody you feel would enjoy my content, make sure to give it a share to them and help your homeboy get some new subscribers up in this bitch. And as always, I will see you guys for Sunday Night Heat, everybody's favorite show. So until then, you guys have a great day, evening, night, whatever.